This is the VOA Special English Development Report. An eye care organization in India has been honored for its efforts to treat the poor and prevent blindness. Aravind Eye Care System received the Conrad N. Hilton Humanitarian Prize. The award was presented in Redwood City, California, during a conference of the Global Philanthropy Forum. Conrad Hilton, who made his wealth in the hotel industry, established the Humanitarian Prize in 1996. Each year, the award is given to a charitable or non-governmental organization working to end human suffering. The prize includes $1.5 million. Aravind Eye Care System was recognized for its work with millions of people in India. Retired eye surgeon Govindappa Venkataswamy established the organization in 1976. He wanted to make high-quality eye care available to all, especially India's poor. He wanted to prevent needless cases of blindness. 8 out of 10 people with vision problems live in developing countries. The World Health Organization says 85% of all vision problems could be prevented or cured. That includes 75% of all blindness. An estimated 45 million people are blind, and India is home to 10 million of them. Dr. Venkataswamy established the first Aravind Eye Hospital in Madurai, in Tamil Nadu state, with only 11 beds. Today, Aravind Eye Care System is the largest eye care provider in the world. It operates 5 hospitals and more than 30 eye care centers across India. About 70% of the patients receive free care. The money comes from the 30% of patients who can pay for their services. In 1992, Aravind established what was described as Asia's first training center for the prevention of blindness. Support from the Sight First program of Lions Club International financed the Lions Aravind Institute of Community Ophthalmology. Also, the Aravind Medical Research Foundation investigates the causes and treatment of eye disease. Aravind Eye Care System has been recognized internationally. Its work has been used as a model for establishing similar programs around the world. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. Transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts are at voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and iTunes at VOA Learning English.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. A labor group has begun investigating working conditions at the Chinese factories where many Apple products are made. Apple officials ordered the investigation after the New York Times described poor working conditions at the factories. The Foxconn Technology Group owns the manufacturing plants in Shenzhen, Chengdu, and Zhengzhou. Angela Cornell is a professor at the Cornell Law School in Ithaca, New York. She says many issues were raised last year after a number of suicides at the Foxconn factories. One issue is the number of hours that employees are required to work. Other concerns involve pay living conditions, and even reports of violence against workers. The New York Times reported that employees sometimes worked 7 days a week. The newspaper said some stood so long that they had trouble walking. Widespread criticism of Apple followed publication of those reports. Mark Shields organized a campaign calling for better working conditions. Workers' lives are really hard and really severe, and there's terrible stories about people losing the use of their hands because of horrible repetitive motion injuries, and suicide rates that are so high that they have got to hang nets off the sides of the buildings to prevent workers from killing themselves. Professor Cornell says the conditions at the Foxconn factories had to have been really bad. Just imagine how dire the working conditions would have had to be for those workers to sacrifice their lives. Professor Cornell says even Apple's own reports noted issues at some of its factories. These included involuntary labor and underage labor. These are important issues. The involuntary laborers are indentured migrant workers, and that is a crucially important issue. I mean, that's basically slave labor. More than 200,000 people have joined Mark Shields' campaign for better working conditions. The American admits he loves his Apple products, but he says he wants them to be made without human suffering. In related developments, Foxconn said it was raising the pay of its workers in China for the third time since 2010. And Apple asked the Fair Labor Association to investigate conditions at the Foxconn factories. Apple recently joined that association. The nonprofit group was established in 1999 to investigate working conditions around the world. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti. Get more news and learn English at voaspecialenglish.com.
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. A top-level domain is the part of an internet address after the dot. The most common of what are called generic top-level domains are .com, .net, and .org. There are 22 generic top-level domain names currently available. But get ready for many, many more. The international organization that controls these names will begin accepting applications for new ones in January. This will open the door to just about anything. Brad White is with ICANN, the International Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. He says, what we're talking about doing with the new generic top-level domain program is blowing the lid off that ceiling of 22. The interest is there to expand that. We no longer have to keep this to 22. It can be almost any word combination. It can be in non-Latin characters, which is extremely important if you happen to speak Russian because of the Cyrillic alphabet, or Arabic, or Chinese. ICANN officials met in October in Dakar, Senegal. Brad White says they discussed the new program for what are known as GTLDs. This marks one of the biggest changes in the Internet's domain name system, the addressing system of the Internet that has ever occurred. We want to make sure that the process of getting these GTLDs into the Internet's root is methodical, careful, and thoughtful. Anyone can apply, including businesses, governments, and individuals. The cost of a new name? $185,000. Mr. White says that's the cost that we've determined that is necessary to make sure that the applicant has the technical savvy to run an Internet registry, that there is no intellectual property or trademark problems, so on and so forth. But that $185,000 is minuscule compared to the cost of actually operating an Internet registry. In Dakar, ICANN passed a resolution to consider creating a support system to help rising economies with limited financial resources. For example, ICANN says Africa represented less than 12% of Internet growth worldwide in the last 10 years. But Mr. White says that is slowly beginning to change. ICANN will accept applications from January 12th to April 12th. It could take up to a year for new names to become active. ICANN says it will approve no more than 1,000 new generic top-level domains each year. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. India could pass the United States in the number of Internet users in less than 2 years. A new report says India reached 112 million users in September. India is the third largest Internet market after China and the United States. China reported 485 million Internet users in June, and there are 245 million in the United States. The Internet and Mobile Association of India says Internet growth was especially strong among people in smaller towns and cities. There was also a large increase in Internet use among school-aged children and college students. This is partly because of the growing number of e-learning services and educational websites. Subho Roy is president of the Internet and Mobile Association of India. He says another big change this year is that more and more people are using the Internet from home, and not just at cyber cafes or offices. People are probably buying their own broadband connections and accessing it from their own devices rather than going to common service points. This growth in Internet use has also led, not surprisingly, to an increase in online businesses. Deepinder Goyal owns Zomato.com. His website provides information about restaurants and nightlife activities across India. Mr. Goyal got the idea for Zomato while working at a consulting firm 3 years ago. He and his co-workers kept restaurant menus in their office so they could order lunch from different places. We scanned these menu cards and put them online. So starting an Internet venture was actually an experiment, and it worked out really well. And currently, we are getting around 2 million people just looking up menu cards on our website every month. Zomato now provides information on more than 17,000 restaurants across India. It covers areas from the Delhi National Capital Region to Mumbai, Bangalore, and Chennai. Deepinder Goyal says Zomato used to depend mostly on business people going online at work, often to order lunch. But now, with the rise in home use, weekends are also very heavy traffic for us. In a separate report, GSMA, the global trade group for the mobile industry, says Africa is the world's fastest growing mobile phone market. Africa has the second largest number of mobile phone connections after Asia. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal.